Have you ever stepped onto an airplane, looked around at a packed cabin, and thought, this airline must be making a fortune today, only to learn later that the airline industry seems perpetually on the brink of collapse? It's a paradox that puzzles travelers and investors alike. Flights can cost hundreds or thousands of dollars. Airports bustle with passengers year-round, as if demand never wanes. And yet, the headlines remind us that airlines frequently post losses, teeter on the edge of bankruptcy, or beg governments for bailouts. In this deep dive, we're venturing into the strange, high-stakes world of air travel to answer a central question. Why do airlines always seem to lose money? We'll look behind the scenes at how expensive it is to run an airline, why brutal competition forces ticket prices down, and what hidden revenue sources keep planes flying. By the end, you'll see just how tough it is to stay profitable in one of the most challenging businesses on Earth. Let's begin with a surprising fact. Despite generating hundreds of billions of dollars in annual revenue and moving billions of passengers globally, the airline industry has collectively lost more money than it's earned throughout its history. Between 2000 and 2020, it posted a net loss of over $50 billion. Certain years are profitable, particularly when fuel costs are low and demand surges. But over the long haul, airlines haven't been a great place to invest, at least in the traditional sense. Why is that? Part of the problem lies in how airlines operate within a complex web of high overhead costs, volatile fuel prices, and razor-thin profit margins. It's not as if carriers want to keep fares low out of generosity. They're often locked in fierce competition, waging price wars against budget rivals, all while attempting to fill as many seats as possible. So let's dissect what makes this industry structurally prone to financial woes. One of the biggest culprits is high fixed costs. Planes are among the most expensive machines in the world, each new jet often costing hundreds of millions of dollars. A narrow-body aircraft like a Boeing 737 can run around $100 million, while a larger wide-body like a Boeing 787 or an Airbus A350 might cost double or triple that. And that's just the sticker price. Once you factor in maintenance, pilot training, cabin crew salaries, airport fees, and spare parts, the costs mount quickly. An airline might spend millions annually just to keep a single plane operational and safe. Fuel is another unpredictable expense. Jet fuel prices can swing wildly with global oil markets, sometimes doubling or halving within a year. If an airline locks in a fixed fuel contract at the right moment, it can enjoy big savings, but a misstep can wipe out any margin they have. Each flight is a guessing game of how much fuel it'll need, so carriers hedge or strategize as best they can. Still, an unexpected spike in oil prices can turn a profitable schedule into a money-losing fiasco in a matter of months. On top of that, every time a plane lands at a major airport, the airline pays various fees: landing fees, gate fees, and service charges. The airline's route network might require multiple flight segments each day, each incurring costs for ground operations, catering, baggage handling, and regulatory compliance. These outlays don't vanish just because a flight is half empty, so you have enormous overhead and wildly fluctuating operating costs. Meanwhile, passengers obsess over ticket prices. If Carrier A charges $5 less than Carrier B for the same route, many travelers choose Carrier A, forcing Carrier B to slash its fare to keep market share. This dynamic creates a race to the bottom on pricing, compressing profit margins. Add budget airlines into the mix, lines like Spirit, Ryanair, and AirAsia, which undercut full-service carriers by charging minimal base fares, and you get an environment where no airline can relax. They must keep fares competitive or lose customers to cheaper competitors. It might seem as though big airlines could rely on brand loyalty, but air travelers are notoriously fickle. Even business flyers, once a lucrative demographic, have become savvier about comparing fares, collecting points, and using corporate travel budgets carefully. That leaves first-class and business-class seats as one area of relative profitability. These premium cabins can cost many times the price of an economy seat, yet the actual cost of flying that passenger isn't proportionately higher. The profit margin on a single business class fare can be sizable, and airlines hope enough premium travelers book at full fares to offset losses in economy. But even that has competition, as numerous carriers worldwide chase the same business travelers, each offering plush lie-flat seats, top-tier in-flight entertainment, and lounge access. A corporate traveler who might once have stuck with a single airline can now shop around for the best sale fare. Another vital revenue source for airlines is the cluster of ancillary fees, baggage fees, seat selection fees, priority boarding, and onboard sales. In 2022, for instance, airlines globally raked in over $100 billion from these extras. Low-cost carriers rely heavily on this strategy, offering a rock-bottom base fare but making up the difference in add-on charges. Mainline carriers also participate, though typically in subtler ways, such as charging for extra legroom or advanced seat assignments. These fees can represent the difference between a flight that loses money and one that ekes out a small profit. Perhaps the stealthiest moneymaker in the airline industry is the frequent flyer program. Major carriers discovered they could sell miles or points to banks that run airline credit cards. Every time a cardholder uses an airline-branded credit card, the issuing bank pays the airline a little cut. In return, the airline credits miles to the passenger's account. These loyalty programs can be so lucrative that some analysts argue American Airlines' AAdvantage or Delta's Sky Miles are actually worth more than the airline's core flying business. By building partnerships with credit card issuers, hotels, and rental car companies, airlines harness brand loyalty to generate a steady revenue stream, not subject to fuel price swings or ticket price wars. So if ancillary fees, premium cabins, and loyalty programs are profitable, why do airlines still end up losing money overall? Partly it's due to volatility. Whenever a crisis hits, think September 11th, the 2008 financial meltdown, or the COVID-19 pandemic, air travel demand can plummet by 50% or more in a matter of weeks. That's devastating for a capital-intensive business. Planes can't be idled cheaply, leases and loans must still be paid, and overhead doesn't vanish just because passenger numbers crash. Reduced flight schedules help cut some variable costs, but the core financial commitments remain. Meanwhile, revenues collapse, sometimes driving airlines into bankruptcy. Governments often step in with bailouts, reasoning that national carriers are vital for connectivity and jobs. This adds politics, regulations, and sometimes forced route obligations to the mix, complicating the picture further. But letting airlines fail can risk thousands of jobs and hamper a nation's travel links, making bailouts politically popular, though not always successful in the long run. We've seen famous carriers vanish: Pan Am, TWA, Air Berlin, while others endure repeated bankruptcies. A cynic might say the industry is stuck in an endless cycle of expansion during good years, followed by contraction and bailouts when recessions or disasters strike. It's no wonder many investors avoid airline stocks altogether, labeling them as historically poor performers. Now, let's look ahead. Is there any hope for airlines to be consistently profitable? New technology promises more fuel-efficient planes. Low-cost carriers refine their models. Automation and self-service might slash certain labor expenses. Yet fundamental challenges remain: fuel prices, global crises, fierce competition. Any of these can ruin even the best business plan. Environmental concerns add another layer. Airlines may face higher costs for greener fuels or emissions regulations. For some travelers, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, inflation-adjusted flight prices have dropped over the years thanks to competition. On the other hand, customers endure extra fees, fewer perks in economy class, and the risk of flight disruptions if an airline folds or merges. If you're a first-class passenger, you likely see improved amenities, but only at a premium cost that business travelers might cover through corporate budgets or loyal flyers might offset with miles. In the end, the story of airlines always losing money boils down to high overhead, intense price competition, demand volatility, and external shocks. The very nature of the business, a service under strict safety, scheduling, and regulatory constraints, gives airlines little flexibility to adapt quickly. They're often forced to ride out the storm, hoping conditions improve before their coffers run dry. So next time you board a flight and wonder why your ticket cost what it did, remember that behind the scenes, your carrier is juggling fuel hedges, leasing contracts, airport fees, labor agreements, and random global events that can ground planes overnight. It's a precarious balancing act, and the margins are razor thin. If you appreciate these behind-the-scenes insights and want more business and finance breakdowns, subscribe to Biz Daily Digest for regular explorations of strategy and economics. Hit that like button if you found this journey into airline finances enlightening, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe airlines will ever crack the code to long-term profitability? Or is this just how it is for an industry perpetually buffeted by turbulence?